Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, as always. So, I thought about it. It's been a minute since I've done Roderick Nava. So I went ahead and went to chess.com and tried to do some digging to try to see what kind of game I could present to you right now. I got a game that was played 2 days ago. It's a blitz game. So it is Roderick Nava versus Alexander Rustemov of Russia. So all of my people coming from the Philippines, I would say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Russia, I would say Bolshoye Spasiba. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got the move E4. We got E6, the French defense. My favorite. We do see the move knight to C3. This is known as the Queen's Knight variation, but almost always it transposes over. We do see the move D5 and D4 here, which just basically transposes into a regular classical variation of the French defense. But Roderick Nava says no, we are not going to have any of that. We do see the move F4, and we are in what is known as the Pelikán variation. We do have a couple different options here. We got some D4s, pawn takes. You even have some C5 situations going on. But it is a very imbalanced game. We do see pawn taking E4, knight taking E4. And like I said, Roderick Nava, I'm not sure if that's how he always plays. But he decided in this one, we're not going to have any like boring drawish type situations with like, exchanges or anything like that. We are going to play some exciting off the wall type chess. We do see knight going to F6, and you absolutely do have the ability to go knight takes F6 with check here. But Nava says, hey, man, I created this little pocket right here next to my king, so let me go ahead and back my knight up right there. So we see this position here. It is not every day that you see a knight to F2. As crazy as it looks, we do have quite a while before we get to the novelty of the game. We do see C5. You absolutely usually want to play this so that you can get the knight tucked behind the pawn. We got knight F3, knight going to C6. We got B3. Bishop goes to E7. We got bishop B2. We got castles by black. We got G3, B6, and then we have bishop to G2. And we have something else in the game that you don't generally see. Both of these bishops kind of have really, really nice diagonals that they're operating on. Generally, I mean, the board is like really open in the center, but usually you have like some type of structure here. So, I mean, at least one of your bishops is going to be somewhat bad. But that is not what we see here. Like I said, I mean, the bishops are kind of slicing and dicing like so. We got bishop to B7. We got castles by Nava. We got queen C7. Queen goes to E2. Most logical square to put it on. Rook A to D8. We got the rook A to E1. We got the rook F to E8. And then we do see knight to D3. And this is the novelty of the game. Where do you think Roderick Nava is going with this knight? Or one of these knights, right? We got the queen, both knights, and the bishop all trained on the E5 square. Some's landing on E5, homie. Whether you like it or not, we got knight going to D4, knight taking D4, pawn taking. We got bishop taking B7, queen taking B7. And then we have the desirable knight to E5, like I said before. Something was landing on E5, homie. So we do see the move bishop to C5, and this is kind of sneaky. We see that Nava, I mean, he goes ahead and says, hey, man, I see what you're trying to do. I'm going to go ahead and play D3. There were actually a lot of options in this position. But just to kind of illustrate to you what could have happened if we do not recognize Black's threat, let's say we play A4. Terrible move. You would be looking at D3 check. No. Yes, absolutely not. Do not do this. It is discovering a check on the king, and it is also hitting the queen. You cannot save your queen. You can only really do this, but you're going to be losing your queen either way. So you have to be paying attention to those tactics when you have played your f-pawn forward at all, and you have kind of openness to your king. So like I said, we did see the move D3. It does blunt that down a little bit. We got knight to D5. Queen goes to F3. We got queen to C7, trying to see if we can tickle this pawn. Maybe this bishop goes somewhere, and we do discover a threat on this pawn here because it is currently undefended. We do see the move A3. We got F6, knocking the knight. Knight goes to G4. And one of the things I do want you to notice, Black is about a pawn and a half worth up in this position. Basically, the reason why is, I mean, the major pieces for both sides are pretty much kind of the same. But you have this knight that's kind of weirdly placed. It doesn't really have a whole lot of real estate to go to. And this bishop is kind of biting on a rock right here on D4. This knight, however, has a little bit more influence into white's position, and this bishop is actually placed really well. So it's basically, in this situation, a battle between the minor pieces. White is trying to kind of get, you know, some counterattacking going, maybe trying to back this bishop up somewhere, but we see immediately Rustemov is like, hey, bro, I see what you're trying to do. We're not even going to be allowing any of that. So your idea that you were trying to do with b4 is being shut down, so you're going to have to find something else to do. We do see king going to h1. It generally is a good idea for you just to have, like, you know, complete movability with your pieces. To move a king away from the influence of your opponent's bishop, or also, like, when you have situations like this, kind of moving it off of this line so that this rook, you know, doesn't become activated against it at some point. We do see queen going to f7. We got rook up to e2. We got the move h5. Which isn't actually that bad of an inconvenience to this knight because it is giving it some good options. After we see knight to f2, knight to e4 is actually looking a little juicy. If you could get the knight to trade itself for this bishop, you probably are going to have a little bit better of a game. The minor pieces are going to be a little bit more even, type stuff like that. So we do see knight going to e3, trying to plug things up a little bit and hit the rook. We got rook f to e1. The queen slides over to d7. We got king over to g1. We do see the move g6, and then we have a knight going to e4. And I mean, this is a beautifully placed knight. It's much better than when it was before. It was kind of over here on g4, looking kind of weird. Man. We do see king going to g7. You know, we currently have an attack on this pawn. I mean, if black does nothing, I mean, I think you guys can kind of see this was in the thumbnail, and that would be a royal fork, and that's absolutely what you do not want. So the king does go to g7. We see the move h3, and then queen goes down to d5, and we have reached a position. White has an absolutely explosive move that they can play, and it was actually available one move prior. It's still available now. If you want to pause the video and try to see what move white has and that Nava does find, go ahead and do so. Okay, so one of the things you should be noticing, like I was telling you guys before, this bishop is kind of biting on a rock at the moment, but what do you have available that can open this bishop up, especially because of where the king is now? The move is rook takes e3. And like I said, it was in the same kind of form before. Because of the queen's position earlier, you know, you did have the ability to do this before. And then you could have had knight to f6, forking or the rook and the queen. But it is still pretty disastrous in this position here too. And you really don't have anything better than to go ahead and accept this gift. So we do see pawn taking e3. Bishop takes f6 with check. We got the king stepping back to f8. Bishop takes d8. We got rook taking d8. We got king to g2. And white is just a pawn to the good here. It probably wouldn't be absolutely best to trade the knight for the bishop. You would be having the pawn coming in, maybe possibly disrupting your structure here. So you have to make sure that you're calculating what you need to do. But we do see bishop taking a3. We got the rook taking e3. And like I said, white is just up a clear pawn. One of the other things that I want to mention, when you're looking at the position and the structure and you're thinking about going into an endgame, you know, you do still have queens on. So like imagining if the queens were to come off the board, black has a little bit harder of a structure for them to manage than white does. They kind of have 2 pawn islands and black has 3. Plus this isolated pawn right here. So just little subtle things like that can, you know, make a difference in your end games when you're kind of choosing like how to trade and kind of what pawns to give up, stuff like that. So just be wary of that. We do see bishop going back to e7. We got rook down to e2. We got b5. Knight goes to g5. This does now offer a queen trade. After the bishop takes g5, pawn takes g5 with check, queen takes f3. We do see king taking f3. And like I said, you are going into a rook endgame up a pawn. It's not like you're just absolutely winning, but I mean, you know, you got a little something brewing. We do see king to e7. We got rook up to e5, trying to see if we can just hit this pawn over here. I mean, if Rustemov just wants to be nice, he could say, hey, man, you can have the pawn. I don't even like it, you know, type stuff. But we do not see that. We got rook to d5 blocking everything up. We do see rook to e4. The king goes to d6. I'm not really sure what Rustemov saw in this position here to play king to d6 because he misses his opportunity to grab the pawn. We do see Roderick Nava going h4. It was possible to check here and then take this pawn. and just kind of even things up a little bit more. But we did not see that. Like I said, we do see h4 protecting this pawn now. We got the rook to f5 with check. King goes to e3. We see rook down to f1. We got the move g4. And this is a very, very critical position that we have gotten into here. We see the move g4. We got pawn taking g4 and then rook taking g4. But Rustemov actually has a win back in this position here. You see the bar. Rook to e1 check would have forced Nava into a losing endgame. You would be having to step away somewhere. I mean, you're going to be pretty much going to f3 or going up to d4. You would probably see king f3, rook takes, and then pawn takes. You got pawn taking here first, king taking, and then you do have the move a4. And you are going to be creating a passed pawn. It's going to look like this. You either sit there and you have a passed pawn, or you trade and you have a passed pawn. Either way, it's the same difference. And there is no way for this king to get over here and stop this pawn. You can try to maybe drum up some counterplay with the move h4 or h5, trying to go, you know, kind of get something rolling. But the king is just going to back up and kind of live over here. And it doesn't really matter because you're still never going to be able to get to this point. So you are going to be losing the game. But like I said, we did not see that. So Nava got a chance. After the pawn takes, we got rook taking, and he sees it the second time around. So he says, okay, king goes to e5. We got rook to e4, check, king to d5, king to d2. And this does avoid the trade, and it does cut off that square that the rook was trying to go to. We got rook to f2. We see a little bit of maneuvering. King goes to c3, e5, king b2. The rook goes over to g2, rook e1. We kind of see a little bit of kind of back and forth real quick. b4 shuts some stuff down. We got king going to b2. We got king to e6. We got the rook over to c4, king to d5. We're trying to creep around the back end of that. We're also looking at this a4 pawn over here, looking kind of juicy. So we're kind of like foregoing our little pawns over here for the moment. We got rook to h2, and then we have rook to a7. Rook takes. We got rook taking with check. The king goes down to d4. We got the rook up to a6. There is no way for black to protect this pawn over here. And this is definitely what you want in an endgame when you have kings. The kings are kind of like cut off from really moving out into the open. So you do definitely want to get rid of the far advanced pawns, or the pawns that can kind of, you know, maybe do something later on. And this these pawn chunks will be a little bit easier for kings to protect. We do see rook down to h2. We got rook taking g6, king to e3. We got rook up to e6, king to d2. We got rook taking here. We do see rook to g2. The rook slides over to c5. We got king to d1. Rook goes to c4. Rook takes g5. We do see d4. And it might kind of seem like, man, I mean, wouldn't I just take the pawn here? You can absolutely do that if you want to. It's definitely the top move, but it's not the only idea in the position. We do see d4. Rook goes down to g2. We got d5. And this is cute, because we are threatening to check here on d4. And even if the rook covers, we're going to be taking, and then there is nothing that's going to be stopping this pawn. So we have to prevent that. So rook goes to d2. We got rook taking d4, rook taking d5, and then we see rook going to c4. And this is something that you really want to pay attention to, this structure right here. When you have an endgame where you have connected passed pawns and you have a rook supporting them, this is the ideal structure that you want to maintain. Pretty much you're going to be pushing b4 and then c3 and then moving the rook up. And you're going to just basically just continuously repeat that until black or your opponent has to kind of do something. They're going to have to start giving a piece away or something like that. So remember that. We do see rook down to d2. We got king to c3. King goes to e2. We got rook to d4. And we got rook taking c2 with check. Now, I feel like this has to be a pre-move. I think that when he got in this position here, he noticed, he was like, oh man, I had rook take c2 with check or something maybe. I'm not really sure 100% what the situation was, but I mean, this is a move that just kind of throws your rook away for nothing. And black doesn't even have the ability to get your rook. After you take here, you got the king going to e3, and then you have king going to c3. And Roderick Nava decides to just maintain this right here. And the king can literally live all day on this this little rectangle right here. And that's all that they really have to do. We got the king going down. We pretty much see, like I said, you're going to be living on this little rectangle. And then we see this here. The queen goes to e5 with check. And then we see the king being walked down. And it is in this position that Roderick Nava, he wins on time. You might be wondering why he wins on time. I'm not sure. He has 3 seconds left. Rustemov does. So I'm not really sure like why his time ran. Maybe he just got frustrated and just let it go. But as you guys can see, it really doesn't matter what you do. You have 2 moves here. And after you do see, you are going to be looking at rook to h4. And that is going to be checkmate. So Malaka C. Roderick Nava in this one. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. What I did want to do for my people that are in the Philippines, it has been a very, very long time since I have tried the good mornings. Let me see how many I remember. All right, so we have Magandang Umaga. We have Maayong Buntag, Mayad na Agahan, Masantel sa Kabusan. I know there's Buenos Dias in there. We have one that I think is, man, what is that one? It's like a really long one. I know we have Mayad Naaga. I'm not sure if I said that one. What's the other ones? I feel like it's Kasanyang Sun LB. Something like that. I know that's wrong, though. What else, man? I don't know. Let me see. I don't have it in here. Yes, I don't. So that was my best attempt. I know Tagalog and Cebuano. Those are like my best ones. So I appreciate everybody very much. Maraming salamat na king makaibigan po sa nanonood ng king my video. Anybody who's coming from Russia, Bolshoya Spasiba, Kakadela to you, Dobre Otra. I appreciate you guys very much, and I'm going to see you guys next time.